Hi, welcome to the VCDX Spotlight Series. This is Sarah Daniels, Senior Marketing Manager for Education Programs at VMware. Today, we are talking with Jason. Jason, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Sure, it's great to be here. My name is Jason Grierson. I'm VCDX 206. Been in the industry for about 19 going on 20 years now, and currently work for Onica Rackspace as a solution.
Great. Tell us a little bit about your VCDX. How did you go about getting it? What was the impetus for starting? When did you finish? All of that good stuff.
Sure, yeah. So it definitely was an adventure or a journey. I've been using VMware when I started my journey since like 2.5 days. So I've been using the product for a long time. Really thought it was revolutionary. It changed the industry. Was using it day in, day out in my job. So I kind of just wanted to push my knowledge and my certification as far as I could go. Always wanted to chase after those larger certs, like the CCIEs and things of that nature. So when the VCDX program first came out, I was really looking forward to kind of attacking that or trying to get it. It took me a few years before I finally made the choice to jump in and do it, but jumped in full bore and just went after it. And it took me about a year, a little bit over a year to accomplish.
So was that entire year spent preparing for your defense?
No, so the first part was just the DCD and the VCAPs, the DCD and the VCA. So I spent a few months doing those, and then the remainder of that year was probably a little bit more than a year because those took a few months as well. The DCD was kind of the first step where I really had to change my thought process. It wasn't like a standard exam where you look at the blueprint and you go and kind of learn all the technology or memorize all the bits and pieces and bits and bytes. It was a very more business oriented, and it was just such a large shift. Attacking that one took some time and a few tries. Got that, but once I got past that hurdle, things clipped along pretty quick. And then I jumped into the VCDX, the design document, which was also a large learning. There was a lot of learning and mentorship through that process.
Yeah. So speaking of mentorship, did you work with someone in particular? Did you use a community to reach out to people? Who helped you as part of that process?
Yeah, so there was definitely a lot of different people. So I guess the first thing that happened was I actually went in with a partner for my VCDX. Shady was my partner, and we kind of both did the DCD around the same time and had a lot of communications and was going through the same kind of study material and stuff during that time. So he said, "Hey, why don't we team up on this?" And I was like, "Sure." I've always believed more minds are better than one. So he was a huge, part of my success. We worked together really well, and it was great having someone along for the journey. The other part was the community. So back then, I think it was before the Slack channel was up. It was Google's not Google Docs, but I forget what their Facebook was at the time, or their social media platform. That's where a lot of the groups and community was kind of congregating at the time. So reached out there for a lot of mentorship and help. And the VCDX program, you sent an email off and they'd give you a spreadsheet of all the active mentors. So I just literally went down the list and was just asking for any help and from anyone who was willing to share. And I got a warm response. I'd probably say over the whole process, I probably had 2 or 3 different mentors at the time, which was great. It kind of they say it takes a village to raise a child. It kind of takes a village to raise the VCDX, and the community was amazing. It's probably one of the biggest and best communities I've been a part of. Always wanting to share knowledge and help in the next.
That's great. I've heard that a lot, that there's really a warm community out there, which is pretty exciting. What has changed since you got your VCDX? Where did it take you?
Yeah, so I guess a lot changed. I was kind of on my path of writing it in the middle of a kind of a job shift. But I'd probably say the largest change was just how I approach architecture and design and problems. Just the methodology, and it's funny because I've talked to a lot of customers and different companies, and like they'll be like, they always kind of boil down to the same kind of methodology. They may not call the same things like, the VCDX has titles for, but it's kind of the same wheel. And just, really thinking about the problem from the business aspect, about, the requirements and constraints, and then, wrapping that up with, VMware calls AMBERs, which is availability, manageability, recoverability, performance, and security. That really dictates the design decision, because even when I mentor new people coming up, what I see a lot is you have people who are very technically sharp, and they want to defend their decisions on the technical level, which is great, but you can fight about that all day, because there's always 3 or 4 different ways to accomplish something in IT. But when you really boil down that decision to or that design choice to business requirements and what actually fit together, it really kind of shuts everything down and ties everything up. Right? So just kind of getting in that mindset was a big shift, coming from most of my roles spending time in the trenches and with the cables and configuring every bit and byte. But yeah, just really changing that thought process is what really helped. I think there's a lot of other VCDXs. If you talk to them, they talk about the journey and kind of how they've matured as an architect. It really is like, that's probably one of the biggest benefits of it.
Absolutely. So now that you've reached that pinnacle of certification, what's next? Where do you go from here?
Yeah. So rewriting my DCD 7, or they've renamed the series now, but for me, it'll always be called the DCD. The design exam to just re-up my VCDX and keep that cert active and alive, and just keeping my teeth sharp in the VMware environment. So that's probably my next step, or most immediate one. And after that, it's just kind of keeping up with the industry. I've never, I've been in it, I guess, for 19, 20 years, and I've never seen this much change. The pace at which things are adapting is a tougher pace to keep up with than it once was.
Yeah. So what's the most interesting innovation that's happening right now? What do you see out there in the field?
Yeah, I would probably say the most interesting innovation for me is that blend of DevOps. So for instance, Tanzu's doing a really good job of this, where they're kind of bringing those two worlds together. So the infrastructure team and the dev team, or helping with that DevOps transition, whether it's on-prem, hybrid, or fully cloud consumption. There really is this insurgence of a delivery model change. Once upon a time, the infrastructure people were kind of the keepers to the kingdom, per se. The developers would ask for requests, we would stand up what they needed to get the application done or to run the workloads. And there was always that kind of back and forth. And now that those worlds are really blending together. With that just automation, infrastructure as code, and the ability to rapidly deploy applications. So to me, that's probably one of the neatest innovations, is helping with that transition, because it's not always a technical battle. Sometimes it's a process within companies. How do these two teams change now?
And do you think that's what we're looking at for the future? Where do you think we're going in the next 5 years or so?
Oh, I think the next 5 years are going to be really exciting to see how things mature, because I think right now we're in a large stage of flux, and there's never been more options than there has been before. So I think in the next 5 years we're going to see a lot of maturity on people's on-prem, hybrid, cloud kind of decisions, and how they go to market with these new applications and deploy them. But I do believe automation, and that ability to quickly change and pivot is where we're going to see things. So we're going to see more of that DevOps model come together, I think, in the next years. That's my thought on what I'm seeing. But I again, there's so many options now, and different ways of providing that delivery mechanism. It'll be interesting to see how things kind of shake out next 5 years.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being part of the VCDX community. We value your contributions and your mentorship to others. So congratulations on that. And thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you again in the future. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me. Hi, my name is Jason Grierson. I'm VCDX number 206. Why would I suggest that you get certified? I believe certification has really helped my career, but more so personally for me to grow and develop as my career went on. And I believe the VCDX program really kind of ties the three major pieces of being a strong architect together, which is knowing all the technical information, make the right decisions, to the design and the business decisions that go with those, right down to the soft skills on how to tie those all together to just make you the best architect that you can be. If you're interested in going down this path, I highly suggest you reach out to the VCDX community. There's a wealth of wonderful people there that are willing to help you through your journey. Good luck.